Hey, what's up? It's your boy Stephen McCoy, and you are listening and watching Sessions with Stephen. And today we have the amazing actor, Mr. Thomas Hobson. How are you?
I'm doing well, Stephen. How are you?
Oh, I'm so great. I'm so excited to have you here. You've done so many amazing things, and you've been acting since you were like six, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
And we're here to discuss the reading of All Boys Aren't Blue, which is written by George M. Johnson. And this particular piece was directed by the amazing Nathan Williams. I've known him for years, and I can't wait to ask you how was it working with him. But how did this all come about?
It's funny. It was just after, I think it was in between Christmas and New Year's, and I got a text from Nathan saying, hey, do you wanna? And I said yes before I even finished reading the whole thing. I actually had to go back later and actually read what he wrote. I just love Nathan, so when he said, "Do you want to work with me?" I said yes. So yes, that's how I got involved. Just a text from Nathan. And a vague
Wow.
question early in December, he'd asked me if I had ever been associated with any Black fraternities. And I was like, no, I always wanted to, and I never did it. And he said, okay, I don't think that matters. I'll get back to you later. And then a couple weeks later, you
Yeah,
know,
that's amazing. And how was it working with him?
it was great. I've known Nathan for a little while now, and I've been a huge fan of him as a person and his work. All of the movies that he's done, I've just really enjoyed all of those, and had secretly hoped that one day he'd ask me to join in on one.
Yeah.
And it was just it was just great, and especially because we're in a pandemic, so things are a little different. So we had to rehearse via Zoom and all that kind of stuff. But he was just so supportive and so clear on what he wanted, which made giving him that and finding where we all needed to come from so much easier.
He's very welcoming and loving, and I can only
Mm.
imagine how he is as a director, being under his microscope and giving good direction.
Oh, so great. And like I said, he's so specific. Like he knows exactly what he wants, um,
Hmm.
but he still gives you the space to find it.
Yeah.
Which is great. I've worked with a lot of directors who know what they want and they're very heavy-handed about getting you there. And Nathan is like, this is what's going to work, and let's just help you you
Yeah.
know make your way there. I honestly, when as I was leaving set that day, I was like, so we'll do this again, like we'll find something else to do together, because I just really enjoyed it.
That's amazing. And tell us why all boys aren't blue. Why is that an important story that needs to be told?
Oh, I think that we've been having so many conversations recently as a community, as a country, as a global community, about what it means to be masculine, what it means to be. I used to do a Nickelodeon show for a while, and they had this word they made up called boyetics. And it was like, what can we do to make little boys feel like little boys? And I think that what we're learning nowadays is that masculinity covers a vast spectrum, and that you can fall anywhere within that spectrum, be anything that you want to be. And I think that I've been telling people, I feel like what's important about George's work is that it forwards this idea that blackness isn't a monolith, masculinity isn't a monolith, that everything exists on a spectrum, and just because my story is different from yours doesn't make my story any less than yours.
Now, have you experienced any of that sort of discrimination based off of your personality, how you were, or anything like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. As I said, one of the things about George's writing is that you don't have to be George to
Right,
find
right.
yourself, to feel yourself, to be reminded of even the chapter that I get to read in this. I didn't have that exact experience that they had, but I still was taken back to college, and you're trying to figure yourself out, and it's scary. I do hope that we one day exist in a world where people don't have to come out because we're just so used to the idea that people can be queer and other. But yeah, I just, in college, it was really hard to not just to find myself and to come to terms with my sexuality, but then also to then feel like I had an obligation to tell everyone when I was still getting comfortable with that. Um, growing up and being told by, thank God, not my parents or my immediate family, but by outside forces that I wasn't presenting as masculine enough, that I wasn't running right or talking right or walking correctly or dressing well, in masculine boyish ways. So it was triggering in a great way, because I'm so far removed from that now,
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
have moments where I'm like, I wish I could. I mean, in order to become who I am, and I really like who I am, I had to go through all of that, but I wish I could go at certain points and just be like, hey, little buddy, I promise you, you're gonna make it through all of this.
Absolutely.
It won't be so scary.
That's what you would tell your younger self.
Oh yeah, just that, like, you have to go through it all, because the person that will come out on the other side of it, you're really going to appreciate that person, and you're going to appreciate the people that you meet along that journey who help you find yourself.
Right.
It will not be easy.
Well,
It's a
with
constant.
you came from a very close-knit family.
Yes.
You had both of your parents. You had your sister. Um, were they supportive of you, your career, of your life?
Yes. And that's the fun thing, even with the acting. I was 6 years old when I told my parents that I wanted to act, and my parents are not actors, and we're very much so like, okay, well, kids have extracurricular activities, so maybe
Right.
this will
It's
be
an
his.
elective.
Yeah, it's his sport, it's his, and but like there were deals in place. I had to go to college, I had to do my chores and be nice, and be responsible, be a good big brother, all of those things. And so even when I went to college, I was pre-med for the first year, and then I was like, that's some bull crap, I'm not going to be a doctor. And my parents were like, yeah, no, we know what you're going to be, you told us what you were going to be when you were 6, so just switch your major and go be that when you're done. And when it came time to come out, my sister was the first person I told, and she was like, okay, yeah, that tracks,
Yeah,
cool. And my little brother was like, yeah, no,
little brother.
I've been telling people that you were gay for a long time, and like all my friends are like, your brother's so cool, I wish I had a brother like your brother. And I was like, that's really interesting. And then my parents I told last out of the immediate family, and
Mm,
it was, I built so much anxiety and pressure up about, what if I'm wrong, what if my wonderful parents have a weird reaction. And they were just kind of like, yeah, no, we've been trying to tell you for a while that it was okay to, you know let us know. And they were honest. I think a lot of parents, if they were honest, would just say the truth, which is that a lot of what they feel is fear. It's fear of the unknown, it's fear that, like, someone could harm you for or not understand you, and by way of not understanding you, hurt you. um,
right.
and because everything else that you dream about for your kids, you can still have. It's just that the idea that society might reject your child, and that's what my parents, like, we're totally fine with you. Our biggest fear was just, what if someone who doesn't know your heart hurts you,
Right.
or judges you, and I'm like, and that's just, it's what happens. But you've raised me in such a way that I'll be okay, I'll get through that.
I love that. What can you say to the parents who aren't as supportive, or just having some sort of difficulty about
Ooh.
it, just watching your parents be very supportive?
My grandmother always says, um, when it came time to start bringing people home, for all of the grandkids, we started, dating and bringing, you know, boyfriends and girlfriends and fiancés home. And my grandmother would say, if you like them, I love them. And I said, what does that mean? She said, I love you, and I want to be in your life, and I want to see you on holidays and birthdays and special occasions. She said, and so at the end of the day, if you are happy, I am happy. If you like someone, I love that person. And I think that is really, really important, because if you're not there for your child will find a family. They'll make a family for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then you won't be a part of that. And that loss can't be undone. And I have a lot of friends who've had to make that choice, and I'm proud to be their family. I'm proud to have my family also be their family, but you just can't replace that real family unit. And my mom always says that you have to meet your children where they are.
Mm-hmm.
She said, as parents, you have all these expectations, all these dreams you put on your child, but at a certain point, you have to be like, okay, this is a human being, and they're going to be, do, see, feel, act how they want, and so I have to meet you where you are. And I
Wow.
think that's really important, that we not that we try to force our thoughts on people, that we say, okay, let me see you and let me accept you as you are.
My heart actually skipped a beat when you were speaking of your grandmother. I thought that was really nice. And just going back to All Boys Aren't Blue,
Hmm.
you're also working with Jennifer Lewis, the legendary
Oh,
Jennifer Lewis, who you worked with years ago when you were like young. How was it like
yeah.
uniting with her?
It's funny. I because of all like the pandemic rules and us all trying to like social distance and stuff, I didn't get to have a full conversation with her. I got to say hello, and I got to be like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. Uh, and like we bow before you, queen that you are. But yeah, I said hopefully the next time we our paths cross, I'll be able to say, because I don't expect her to remember, um, our interactions from long ago, but it was just this
You know how
magical
she is.
two.
She probably like, boy, get away from me. But,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no.
And I said, and I will preface it by saying, you have no obligation to remember this, but there was a 2 week period of my life when I was young where I did 3 shows with her in 2 weeks. Like every set I went to over these 2 weeks, Jennifer Lewis was there, and I was like, and I didn't know who she was before that. I was probably like 11 or 12, and by the end of that 2 weeks, I was obsessed with her. I used to, I still have, because I used to keep all my scripts. And so I did 2 episodes of A Different World. No, sorry, 1 episode of A Different World, 2 episodes of A Living Color with her. And I have all of the A Different World scripts. And I used to, on family like holidays, I used to take my scripts with me and make all of my cousins act out, the
Wow.
shows like a play. And I would always play Jennifer Lewis because
Wow.
I thought
Wow.
she was just so funny.
Wow. That's amazing. And look at you
Yeah.
now. Like that's
Look, yeah. So
and
I am
clearly
looking
had
forward to like,
acting in your blood.
yeah, and I'm looking forward to like, getting past this pandemic, and then,
uh,
Nathan calling me up and we all go hang out somewhere, and she shows up and I can just say like, thank you for everything. I'm so happy that she's getting her flowers now, because she has
absolutely.
deserved them for 40 years. But
Absolutely.
I'm so happy that we're in the moment where she's getting all the love she deserves.
Absolutely. And with, just seeing that she's this person who's always represented the Black culture, with you being a Black actor, do you choose your roles just to create as an actor, or are you conscious about the roles that you're playing?
I'm not quite yet at a place where I get to really like say yes, no. But I do, like, when the auditions come in, when the offers come in, uh, I'm very intentional about what kinds of messages I want to put out into the world. Um, that I feel like I have an obligation as a person who, growing up, even being on TV, I didn't see anyone who I felt like truly represented what I was going through.
Mm,
And so if I can create a world where some young person who's trying to figure themselves out, and they can be straight, they can be queer, they can be whatever, but if they're trying to figure themselves out and they can find themselves somewhere in my story,
yeah,
I think that's really, I got into acting because I liked to inhabit other worlds and, be other people. And now I'm realizing that, like, one of the things that we do that's so great, one of the things about All Boys Aren't Blue that's going to be so great, is that there's going to be people who are watching who see themselves
hmm
represented not just in the three actors who are playing it, not just in Jennifer Lewis and her beautiful narration, not just in George and their beautiful story, but like there's going to be so many people who feel seen. And I think at its most powerful, that's what this medium really does. TV, film, theater, art,
Right.
you know, makes us feel a little less alone.
I mean, you come from the background of Nickelodeon and those sorts of that audience. So seeing you transition into these roles, which are still great roles for family roles that anybody of any color, of any background, are still able to watch you and watch you grow. And you do a great job. I don't know if you have like a team that strategically, put things in place, but are all of these your decisions that you're making?
Well, yeah, I do have a really great team. Shout out to the team. But also, what I think what my team really does impress upon me is that at the end of the day, I am the captain. And so, if there's an audition that comes in that I don't think is what I want to do, they're like, okay, great. I remember I did a movie 2 years ago, and it took 4 attempts for me to say yes. And finally, I had to I finally read the script, and then I spoke to the producers, and I was like, oh, I see what you're doing here. I'm sorry, just on paper it didn't read like that. It read like a stereotype, and I was really not interested in playing stereotypes, but now I understand this person's journey. And so I ended up doing it, ended up being one of my favorite things I've ever done. But yeah, I've just been really lucky. And yes, the preparation is there. I'm ready to go at all times, but I've also just been, even through this pandemic, just been very blessed and very lucky to be able to keep doing what I do, and that people keep giving me the opportunity. I tell people all the time, one of my mantras as an actor is that I want to be scared. And so if you give me, and that's one of the things, even with Nickelodeon, people are like, what, you did a kid's show? And I said, no, it was every week I'd open the script and I would be like, oh, this week I'm going to do a full Cirque du Soleil routine on the silks in the sky. I've never done that before. Okay. So it instilled in me this idea that like my best work comes from fear. My best work comes from opening, Nathan sending me my chapter of All Boys Aren't Blue and me going, how in the hell am I going to make this work and make this interesting? And now, oh my gosh, I can't wait to try.
Yeah.
So that, yeah. And as long as that fear is there, I am always excited. Every time I get a role, I'm like, oh crap, they're gonna find out I'm a phony. They're gonna fire me, and then it's great. It's fun.
Amazing. I think people are truly ready for you. What is your dream role?
Ooh, it's funny. I always say I'm greedy. So in my perfect world, I would have my Shonda Rhimes-esque show. Maybe I'm a doctor, maybe I'm a lawyer, but maybe a This Is Us type show. I love what Sterling K. Brown's been doing the last few years. I mean, he's such an inspiration, I think, to all of us. Coming up behind him, have a show like that, and then on my breaks from filming that, like go to New York and do a Broadway show. I've always wanted to do a Broadway show. I used to joke. My grandfather used to say, "Well, grandson," he said, "you made it, but you haven't truly made it till you've been on the Broadway."
That's very true.
And so that's on the list of things. I said a career where I can do everything.
Yeah.
Where kind of like a Viola Davis. I think she's a great example of that. Like you're doing How to Get Away with Murder, but you're also filming Fences and getting an Oscar, but you're also going and doing a limited run of a play in New York City. That's my dream. I tell people all the time, I want to be happily exhausted. I don't want to be tired from I don't want to be tired from partying too much. I want to be tired because I'm fulfilled from my work.
Absolutely. Wow. Can you let us know when All Boys Aren't Blue is gonna be airing? How can we check this out?
Yes. All Boys Aren't Blue will be airing on Monday, February 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. If you want to come in for the pre-party starts at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. But you can go to abab2021.eventbrite.com. A is in Adam, B is in boy, A is in Adam, B is in boy, and the numbers 2021.eventbrite.com. It's free, and it's just going to be a really, really fun night. Like I said, we got the pre-party, then you've got the show, and then there's a really phenomenal Q&A that comes after the show that features George and Delon and a couple of special guests. I think that they've curated a really wonderful evening. Like I said, I just hope people show up with open hearts, open ears, open minds, and yeah, just enjoy celebrating what these folks have put together. And then also, like, remember that the whole point of the event is to celebrate the idea of the stigma of HIV/AIDS, especially in the Black community. We've got to do better. We've got to do better being a community, being united, being there for our brothers and sisters, our trans brothers, our non-binary friends and family who are dealing with this. We've got to, you know, it's been 30 years and the stigma still hasn't really gone away. So we've got to, you know, reach out, embrace, and really start to have those hard conversations about why the stigma exists, which leads back to the stigma that exists around being queer in general, which leads back to, you know, the sort of conservative side of sexuality and sexual identity that the church takes. And, you know, it's a lot of unpacking to do, but it's past time to unpack it. So I think we're all just really happy to be a part of an event that will further and hopefully forward that conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas Hobson. Thank you so much. And please continue to show beautiful images of who we are in each character. So thank you so much for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Subscribe now.